Hey guys, I want to take a moment to recommend Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp to you. Dev Mountain's been a long-term sponsor of mine. I appreciate their support as I've helped grow the channel and tell everyone about their great facilities. I've actually been to their Provo, Utah campus, and it's beautiful. So if you're interested in a full-stack JavaScript bootcamp, they provide housing alongside the tuition, so you can get up and go today. They're one of the most affordable bootcamps in the world, in the States, and I highly suggest you check them out at devmountain.com. All right, let's jump back into asynchronous JavaScript. We're now doing the async await section. So async and await was added in the ES6 or 2015 addition to JavaScript, and they got quite a lot going on here. They want us to remind us to run our application by doing node.app.js. Let's see. It's just a little bit of history on async await. So a little bit about async await. Async await gives us the ability to just essentially do a shorthand version of promises and resolve them by awaiting them and not having to use then or catch for that. So it's a nice little way to provides a little bit more functionality, but it's a nice little way to clean up the code so we don't have all this nested information like so. So as I mentioned, the async keyword is used to write functions that handle asynchronous actions. So say you have a function that's going to do something asynchronous, you can actually throw async in front of the declaration, and you'll have access to awaiting the actual promise as well. So async functions always return a promise, whether you have a promise or not in there. It converts everything to a promise. If nothing's returned, it will return a promise with a value of undefined. All right, so we provided a function with constructor, which takes in a number. If the number is 0, returns a promise that resolves the string to 0. Otherwise, it returns not 0. So here you'll see we have with constructor, we're passing a 0 to it, and then we're logging the value based on what's going on here. So node app.js, let's go ahead and run it. With constructor ran. Cool. Write the async function with async. Write an async function with async, which reproduces functionality of with constructor. So if we wanted to do something like that, what we can do here is we're going to define an async function. I'm going to call this with async. Oops. It's going to take in some num. All right, and so we'll say if num is equal to 0, we want to return 0. And again, remember, everything's going to be because of the async keyword, we're returning a promise with a value of 0. Else, we want to return, and technically we don't even need this else because of the way return statements work. Else return not 0. Very nice. And to test our code to make sure that everything works again, uncomment the test code we wrote at the bottom of app.js. Oh, here it is. So what? All right, cool. So now when we call node app.js, we should get return promise that's resolved to the resolve value. To not to not something. I don't know what it's trying to say. But yeah, so it still returned a promise. Everything worked is really the idea that we're trying to get out of this. So the await operator. Now, if you remember back where we were chaining our thens together and we had one then another then another then, it gets a lot of nested code even if you chain them properly, and it becomes kind of an issue. So sometimes we want our async code to be treated synchronously. Now, that's what the await does. It forces us to wait for the resolved value of a promise. So you'll see here, let's say we have this async function, we want to wait the promise, and then we actually get the value, and then we can log it, right? Because if we were to log it without awaiting it in this instance, it would just return some sort of promise object and not the actual value of whatever it's expected. So here we have then we're bringing meal, it's console logging. Cool. Standard brainstorm dinner this is our promise, and then we're doing something with it. All right. Fill in the body announce dinner function, so that has the same functionality as promise dinner. So what we're going to do, and you'll notice it's async here, is we can just go ahead and this is normally how I would do it. So const response is equal to brainstorm dinner await brainstorm dinner. So we're going to await the value that's going to be returned from the successful nature, and then let's go ahead, oh actually we'll call this meal just so I can copy over this console log like so. Any second now. So now we've done that, and beneath the function they want us to invoke announce dinner. I think I typed that right, although I'm not confident enough not to just paste that in there like so. And let's go ahead and launch our node app.js. Alright, cool. So it launches. I'm assuming that's what it needed to do. Check our work. Excellent. Check our work one more time. Good. Cool. So that was an example how we can clean up the then and use async and await. Yeah, so you definitely need to make sure you use await with the async, or you're going to have an issue. So they're saying here we've left off the async keyword. In a second we've included it. The no wait will log, as I mentioned, a promise object to the console, since we, chances are we never want to set a value with the promise. We want the actual value. All right, so we have some code here, just shop for beans, which presumably is a promise, and we're invoking it. And so you'll see now, if we were, since we're not awaiting it and we're not calling then on it, you'll see that I'm heading out to sort of by beans, and then you get this object promise. Definitely not what you want to log to the user, right? Cool. Get beans logging great object promise for the console. Take a moment to understand why this is happening. It's because we haven't awaited the intent, and so it is a promise, it is object, it's doing what it's supposed to do, just not what we want it to do. So we can go ahead and await that, and once the promise resolves, I put await. This is async. All right, and we can go ahead and test this. Just go and clear the console real quick. And notice there is no async await issues or any promise issues with the object. What is the issue? We'll run it one more time. Hidden stored by items. I bought kidney beans because they were on sale. Great. Alright, I think it just got a little stuck there. So dependent promises. Remember when we were chaining earlier in the first section? This is one of the great things about async await. It just cleans that up so much that it's so easy. We just one async function, we await it, pass one awaited value into the other, and so on and so forth. So shop for beans expects no arguments, returns a promise. Soak the beans expects a bean type string, so we're going to probably pass some sort of bean into there. And then cook the beans expects a boolean. All right. In the following checkpoints, you'll create an async function that handles the 3 dependent promises we just walked through. It will simulate shopping for soaking and then making the beans. This is a common thing that you're going to be doing as you're writing some code. You know, oftentimes you might get an ID from a list, and then you might from an async list, and then you might take that ID and then go hit another API to get more expanded details about that item. So pretty similar to that. All right, so it will simulate shopping. To get started, declare an async function. All right, so async function make beans. We'll leave it blank. All right, go ahead and check our work and continue moving forward. All right, cool. In the following checkpoints, you'll create an async function that handles 3 dependent promises we walk through. Simulate shopping for. I already did that. Check my work. All right, cool. Declare variable type, assign resolve value. All right, so const type, and we're making a const because we're not going to. We want to await the value. We're not resetting this value, I'd imagine. So shop for beans. So we're completing that in one statement. The next inside, declare another variable is soft, and we're going to await the async value from that as well. Soak the beans. And in here, we need to pass the type to that asynchronous call so it knows if we need to soak them or not. And then finally, declare a variable called dinner. And we're going to await cook the beans. And in here, we're going to put pass in is soft. And you see here, we've chained 3 separate async calls together. And it's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to read. All right, and then we want to invoke make beans. Check our work, excellent. And now we're going to launch the node app.js, and so there we go. Fired off everything that we needed to do with the values that we got from the other async calls. So how do we handle errors, right? We talked about the promise resolving and no longer pending, but there's no errors, error handling with it. So the way that we solve this is using try catch. If you're not familiar with try catch is something that's pretty much a staple of any language, where say there's something you're not 100% sure is always going to succeed, and granted you should write your code in a way that that's never an issue, but there are things beyond our control. typically third-party resources, APIs, those types of things. And so asynchronous code is one of the items that are more likely to blow up because we're dealing with third parties and APIs and whatnot. So try means, hey, go and do this. And that catch is similar to our catch from earlier, where if it fails, go ahead and do this instead. And that's how we're going to use try and catch alongside async and await. All right, so they tell us some stuff about what's going on there. So we're going to define a function here called host dinner party, and inside our function we are going to have a try and a catch, and this catch is the error for why it's blowing up in that catch statement. Should specify an identifier error. We actually the actual one is call it error. All right, so we'll call it error. Normally I would do E, or I guess error is fine. All right, let's go ahead and check our work. So inside the try block, log a string in the following format. All right, so we're going to const response is equal to await cook beans so full, and then we want to console.log use some string interpolation here and put response this and is served. Excellent. Let's go and check our work. Oh, a little bit of a spelling mistake there. Cool. And now in the catch block, we want to say, hey, for some reason we were unable to cook dinner, our asynchronous cooking of dinner. So instead I'm ordering a pizza. And these are I want to make a statement here that you're typically going to be doing more things than just first lock there. That you're not only logging errors when you catch things. Oftentimes you might instead be doing alternate actions, right? So let's take the instance of geolocation. You can get the browser HTML5 API to get your geolocation, but if a user denies that, that would error out, and you'd catch it here, and then maybe you would go and fire off a third-party API to get their internet service provider location and latitude. Not as correct, but close enough, sort of thing. So I just want to make that distinction. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and call host dinner party. We'll check our work like so, and let's go ahead and launch our node app.js. Cool. Moving on. So again, just a reminder that await halts the async code so that it behaves like synchronous code. You can also not everything that's awaited. So not everything that's awaited needs a value, right? And so order can matter, and how you handle that can matter. So in the waiting function, we pause our function until the first promise resolves. So you see this resolves, and once that resolves, fires this off. In this case, this does something, before, then this does something, and then we await the logs of them. So take a look at the provided code. We required 4 functions: cook beans, steam broccoli, cook rice, bake chicken. These functions each will return, so they're just more asynchronous functions. Declare an async function serve dinner. And you're saying, well, why would you do that? Well, why do we want to hold up our code if we're waiting on... Don't hold up the code for things that don't matter to other pieces of the code, right? So, declare 4 variables. All right. Const vegetable promise is equal to steam broccoli. All right. Just creating some copies real quick. And then the next one is going to be starch promise. And here that's going to be cook our rice. There's no reason that we can't cook our vegetables and our rice at the same time. Protein promise is baked chicken. And then finally our side promise, the side piece, is, what is it? Cooked beans. So all we're doing here now is storing the promises, not actually the values at this time. Oh, and of course, make sure you use the function keyword. Next console log, in the following order, format dinner server having resolved. So it's saying that it wants us to console log the following values. Let's go ahead and use this again. Dinner is served. We're having vegetable promise, comma, starch promise, comma, protein promise, comma, and side promise, period. So if we run this right now, we would get a bunch of promises, but what we can do is use the await keyword in front of it like so, and it should await everything that's in there. Checkers. Let's see. Although I've never actually awaited a console log in this manner, so perhaps we can't do that. I thought we could. Let's see, do they want us to really await each one? Well, alright. Well, I was hoping that we could do that, but I guess not. So we're awaiting each one of these inner console logs, like so. Maybe I mistyped something. Async function served dinner. Let's just see what it launches. Maybe we'll give us. Oh well, served dinner is not actually there. What is not defined? Perpetual promise is not defined. Oh, that'll do it. All right, cool. A little bit debugging, no big deal. There we go, and go ahead and run it. And then finally go ahead and launch our node.app.js. Now I rarely would ever probably run this like this, but you know, sometimes this is more about conceptually. So we can also await a promise at all, similar to how we did earlier, where we pass in a bunch of promises. And we resolve them all at once. So you're gonna create a similar function, serve dinner. Let's start with async function, serve dinner again. And in here, we're going to create a const called food array, empty, equal to an empty array. Assign it to promise.all, and we want to await the value of food array, and presumably we're passing in steam broccoli, cook rice, bake chicken, and of course cook beans. So now that we've done that, we should have an array of each one of those values. Food array, async function, serve dinner again. Await promised at all, steam broccoli. Cook rice. Cook beans. Chicken. Let's try running it one more time. What did I do wrong? I don't think anything. Promise dot. Oh, capital A. Silly me. Let's see what the node app.js. Well, nothing at this point, right? But we gotta call serve dinner again. We'll see what our error is. Unknown hammer promise under. Type error undefined is not a function. Oh, there we go. Forgot the array brackets. Cool, so we pass in the array brackets. This is a classic example of being too reliant on IntelliSense and not working in your normal IDE. But yeah, dinner serve having first. So now that we've resolved all that, we can go ahead and if we want to do a little, I was going to do some object destructure, array destructuring, but I think that would actually cause some of the tests to break. But we'll just go ahead and do the same thing here. So now we'll say dinner is served, period. We're having, and then food array 0, comma, food array 1, comma, food array 2, comma, and food array 3, beneath, we declare it, and then finally, let's go ahead and see it in action. Works exactly as it was before, except we're using promise at all. So you can await anything that is a promise. All right, so we showed you a couple different ways to handle promises. Async and await is my personal favorite. I think it leads to more clean code and something that I enjoy. But if you are going to use that, you need to make sure you catch your errors with a try catch for the error handling. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, support me on Patreon, all that good stuff. And if you're interested in any of my JavaScript or TypeScript courses, you want to ace your next technical interview, I highly recommend my 100 algorithm challenge. There's a link in the description. Get it for just $10. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to check out my 100 algorithm challenge course. Get you prepped for those technical interviews to make sure you get nice offers. I actually just added some new content to it so you can get prepared for those technical phone screens as well. There's a link in the description to get it for just $9.99.